He's been breaking track records left, right and centre.
I want to sit right on the fence. I just want to sit there and I'll let you...
Gates one's a cracking price. I think he's a lot better than the mark.
A lot of people saying it's the bank of the year and Starman will romp up here.
I can't be with Baid though. 5 to 6.
Is it time to pop it?
Yeah, I think
Hello and welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel for our weekend preview this week, where we're going to be looking at the likes of Ascot, mainly Haydock for the Sprint Cup, which is going to be an exciting race, and then we are going to preview the Moulin on Sunday. But first of all, thanks so much for the support on the latest vid that we've just put up, which is a mid-season review. Plenty of comments from you guys, and continue to comment on these videos, especially letting us know what you want to see with regards to feature videos. Jack and I are always intrigued to hear what you want to see from this channel, and we do take the notes on board. So anything you want to see with regards to feature videos, whether it's information on trainers or particular sort of things to do with racing, anything in the world, we will talk about it on this channel within reason. So we will start looking at that next week. We are going to be doing a Champions Day anti-post preview as our feature video, but I'll talk about that more towards the end. But we'll kick things off, Jack, and I think we'll start at Ascot, if that's okay with you. We'll save Haydock until kind of right near the end so we can finish close to the Sprint Cup. And it is the free 10 there. It's the Lavazza Stakes, which is a 1.5 mile Class 2 handicap. Warran is 7 to 2 here. Dushan 6 to 1. Alphadel 8 to 1. Chalk Stream is 17 to 2. Champagne Piaf, come on the boy, is 9 to 1. Staywell, Fleurman, Candleford, Irish Legend 10 to 1, and Bigger the rest. Jack, 2 seconds. Is it time to pop it?
Yeah, I think
the big question is, right, we've got to be honest here. We love this horse. We've had an obsession. People say it's probably an unhealthy obsession, but I'm personally not going to be with him in this race. I don't know whether he actually goes here, but I'm not going to be with the Piaf, unfortunately, here. Are you going to be with the Piaf?
No. I'd love to see him win. I don't know if he's going to run, as you say.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to actually see him last week,
yeah,
which was class. It was really nice to see him. But if anything, Gary was kind of dying down his chances a little bit. He said the form of the race that he won wasn't that great, and we're not sure where he goes next. Yeah. So it's interesting to see where he goes. He said he may be a tad too fragile to go over those hurdles just yet, but I mean, we got time to kind of drip feed.
We're patient, Jack. What's his temperament like? What was he like when you were there?
He was a little bit feisty, you know. He was a little bit feisty. I was wearing a little orange quarter zip. He was having a little nibble. He really was. He was liking the orange quarter zip.
Go on the Piaf.
I don't blame him, to be fair. It's a lovely bit of clobber. Anyway, I think he's going to be bumping into one here in Warran. I really think a mark of 96 is just a joke. I mean, I don't know if you watched that run at York last time out, but Richard Kingscote unfortunately got into loads of trouble. He was checked, had to switch right, was travelling quite nicely at the rear of the field with Sinjari, who ended up finishing third, I think third or second perhaps. And I think Warran, he's escaped a rise for that, and I think a mark of 96, that's not insurmountable. I think that definitely underestimates his ability. And if I'm being honest, I'd probably be a little bit surprised if he doesn't go in here. I think 7 to 2 is a reasonable price. He won his 2 outings before York quite nicely on both soft and good to firm ground. Ryan Moore's jocked up. I think this is almost a penalty kick.
Okay, right, interesting. Yeah, the Warran actually quite a nice price for a favourite in here. I'm going to go with an each way shout here, and if this horse runs, it's Irish Legend. He's around 10 to 1 here for the Hugo Palmer team. We go back to his run in the Qatar at the Qatar Goodwood Festival. He's 4th behind Nagano. We know how that race kind of has turned out with the likes of Dancing King. Nagano were in a photo finish last weekend, but the form of that, he had Siskany in recovery run. I wouldn't say it's sort of amazing form, but I do think this horse has plenty to offer. Rated £2 higher now than that run at Goodwood, so there is plenty more to come from this horse. Now, a lot of the runs of this horse have either been on the all-weather or on softer ground, but the only time this horse has run on sort of good or quicker ground was in the Sandown Classic trial. Now, the horse did finish right out the back of the field, don't get me wrong, but that race, Alenker, Adayar, Yabir, Lone Eagle, some of the horses that come for that are absolutely ridiculous. And I'd just be interested to see what this Son of Sea the Stars can potentially do. I think potentially Irish Legend could be a decent each way play if going here for the Palmer team. Not a yard that I've been majorly in love with. I can't really seem to get grips with the Palmer yard, to be honest. But, you know, since Galileo Gold, I haven't really kind of clung on to a horse with them. But I think they potentially have a well-handicapped horse here, an Irish Legend, potentially for myself. But Jack is going to select Warran up in the Lavazza Stakes at Ascot. Let's go over to Haydock now, where We do have we have a Group 1 card here. We have the Sprint Cup. But we're going to kick things off with the 145, which is the Superior Mile Stakes. It's a Group 3 over the mile, and Lord Glitters is your 11-4 favourite here. Cadillac is 3-1. My Oberon 9-2. Njord is 8-1. Bellrock and Lights on 9-1, and double figures bar those. Now, Jessie Harrington at the moment, she sends 2 here. Now, right at the start of the season, I don't know if you remember, we were caught out massively by this. We had a race, we tipped up a horse, we napped this horse up, we were going on and on. This is the nap of the week. She had 2 horses in the race, to then find out the one that we jointly napped up got pulled out of the race, and the other one ran a bit of a stinker that day. So I'm hoping lightning doesn't strike twice here, and I'm going to be with Cadillac. I think Cadillac 3-1. I mean, I'm going to take on the old boy Lord Glitters, but I think this horse might actually have another run at the Breeders' Cup in his mind. I think potentially that's where this horse is going to end up. The last run was in Saratoga. I think it was the Saratoga Derby Invitational Stakes. Didn't run too well. I just don't think he was good enough in that race there. But I don't think the ground's going to be too much of an excuse for this horse. I think that potentially he has got the ability to win a race like this. I do not think it's an excellent race. I really don't. I don't think Lord Glitters is, he is a legend, don't get me wrong, but he's not a superstar anymore. I think Cadillac could be quite a nice horse. I mean, since the Dewhurst, we've either had some superstars come out of that or some horses that have really flopped, and I'm hoping potentially he can show some really decent form and prove that he's still got some ability there. So it'll be Cadillac for myself. Jack, are you going to be with the old boy?
I'm not, no. Out of the front of the market, I do think he is the one to beat. My Oberon's interesting. I mean, he's had one good run this season in the Disban, obviously one on reappearance, but he's been running over a mile and furlong, a mile and 2 furlongs. He's got £7 swing against him with Lord Glitters, though, from York last time out, and he was actually 3 lengths behind Lord Glitters on that occasion. So Lord Glitters out of the front 3 for me. If I'm being honest, I'm not having Cadillac at all. Okay. I'm going to have to see him do it. He won over a mile and a quarter at the Curragh. He's only had the 2 runs this year. The form of his Breeders' Cup run last year isn't that great. He got Battleground in second, Fire at Will winning. I think Devil Waller was in behind as well. Not the nicest bit of form. There's one price that I'm probably going to stick the neck out for, and that's Artistic Rifles, who's 25-1 in a couple of places at the moment, 14-1 other than that. But for Edward Bethel, now he's pretty lightly raced for a 5-year-old. Joined Ed Bethel back in September of last year after being in France, and then was elsewhere before that. But he's been extremely progressive this year. I mean, he's won 4 of his last 6 outings. He won the spring mile at Doncaster back in March with Acquitted and the likes in behind. Not the most amazing form, but he's got serious form on quick ground, and it looks like we're going to be having rattling ground this weekend. I mean, if you look at his last 3 runs, he won at Ripon, I think it was back in May or June, and that was the track record over a mile. He broke the track record there. Yes, the ground was very quick. Next time out at York, he lost his shoe. I'm going to forgive him there. And then last time out over a mile and half a furlong at Hamilton, he broke the track record again. So, I mean, he's been breaking track records left, right and centre. I mean, he loves a bit of rattling ground. I think 25-1 isn't really a bad price whatsoever. So if he does get declared, I think Ed Bethel could have a good chance in a weak Group 3.
There we go, and the horse's name again?
Artistic Rifles.
Artistic Rifles, yeah, an interesting selection at a big price for Jack, and I'm going to be with Cadillac in the 145 at Haydock. Now we'll go to the big handicap on the card there at Haydock. It's the 220, the my odds boost on Betfair handicap. It's Class 2 handicap over a mile and 3/4, a bit of a staying handicap here. Marajan and Valley Forge are your joint 4-1 favourite here. Vino Vitrix is 5-1, Mandoob 7-1, Priano 8-1, Ocean Line 9-1, Irish Legend and Rosabard 10-1 and 12-1, and bigger the rest of them. I don't really want to go too much on my selection here, Jack, because I did speak to you before this, and we're not 100% sure this horse runs. I actually tipped him up last weekend. That was Mandoob. He'd be a cracking bet in here if he does go here. I know he's carrying top weight, but this horse has some excellent form in the book, and I actually think potentially he could be a 110 rated horse of the future. I mean, Yabir, who beat him at Newmarket, that horse is now rated 113 and won at York in really impressive style, and finished ahead of Dancing King, who won a Group 3 at the weekend. Still not sure how he's won a Group 3, Dancing King, but he has. And he's actually drawn Nagano and Dancing King actually did draw away from the rest of the field, but God knows how good the rest of the field were actually on that day. But yeah, I do think he's better than that mark of 103. It's currently going. I genuinely think that Brian Meehan, he's probably licking his lips with this horse, thinking that they could pick up some decent prizes. But yeah, Mandoob's rated 104 and Dancing King's 103. I think that horse might be better than 103 in the future as well. But yeah, I would put up Mandoob, but it would be my selection. But I'm not sure Mandoob's 100% going to run here.
Yeah, as you say, that they're definitely licking their lips over him. But if they were to send him here, I think they'd be a bit silly. Personally, 9 of the last 12 winners were either rated 81 to 89. And he's carrying off 103. I mean, it's a lot of weight to be carrying. I think they should be looking at group honours, if not a big handicap somewhere else, and not this. But Valley Forge is interesting. Travelled like an absolute dream when winning at York.
Yeah.
But he's up £7 for that. So this requires a lot more. He's off 90 now. And of course, you've got Marajan as well, who's been very, very progressive. But I mean, the win at Hamilton was very exciting from a time point of view. It wasn't that bad at all. And I mean, he's up £10. Again, how much is there more to come? Probably quite a lot. He's only had the 4 runs, but I mean, he's still got a decent amount of weight to carry. And I actually quite like one here, and I do think he's quite well handicapped, and that's Prayano, who finished 4th at Sandown last time out on good to soft ground. Now, he got no kind of a run. I mean, Andrea Azzini unfortunately got into a horrible position at the rear of the field, and I mean, I think he was denied a run about 3 times, and he had to eventually be switched around to the outside, was making ground up at the line, and I mean, he's escaped a penalty there, or escaped a rise, sorry. And Ocean Line, who won that, they're going to reoppose again with Buick back on board, but Prayano has a £3 swing in his favour. He went off favourite on that day. He cost 500,000 guineas as a yearling. He's a half-brother to quite a few winners on good ground as well, so good to firm ground may be a little bit of a question mark, but I think 8 to 1's a cracking price. I think he's a lot better than the mark he's currently got, and I would be surprised if he doesn't get anywhere closer.
Yeah, no, I'd expect Priyana to go here. And just with regards to sort of entries and when these previews go up, Jack and I have been in discussion. Now the channel sort of started to grow a little bit more. We are doing the Breeders' Cup live come the start of November. We're doing the Saturday live. Come that time, after that, all of our previews will then be on a Thursday night. And they will be live, so we'll have sort of the kind of final declarations, which is going to help us massively, and hopefully we won't be putting up horses that aren't running that weekend. So yeah, I know loads of you down the comments have been saying, God, you need to wait for the full entries and all that. It's just not easy when we pre-film this. We have to get it all edited and out to you guys. But yeah, we will be live come sort of the start of November onwards. I think all of our previews, all our features will be pre-recorded, but anything that is a preview will be live on the channel. So looking forward to doing that in a couple of months' time. Let's go on to the big one then on the cards, the 330. It's the Betfair Sprint Cup Stakes, a Group 1 over 6 furlongs, and Starman is your even money favourite here. Creative Force is 6 to 1, Art Power 8, Glen Shield 10s, Gustavus Western 11 to 1, Supremacy, 14 to 1, 16 to 1, and Bigger the rest. Now Supremacy, God Jack, we don't really need to talk too much about that. We've probably had enough of the Supremacy chat with you. It all started at the start of the season, bigging this horse up, and in all fairness, this is actually quite a weak Group 1 bar Starman where he could actually run into a place.
He was the second highest rated 2-year-old behind only St Mark's Basilica.
Wow.
How sad is that?
And it's just not come there. And even off that poor run at the start of the season, you still fancied the horse, but it just really hasn't come about. But I wouldn't say this is the best Group 1 outside of Starman. I think Creative Force is a nice horse, don't get me wrong. But I think outside of that, I mean, you look at like Glen Shield. I think Glen Shield's big target is going to be Champions Day again with the softer ground. And Art Power, who I just do not understand the price of this horse. Art Power, right? Don't get me wrong. When we first saw this horse, did look like an absolute superstar, but really hasn't turned out for this horse, and I'm not sure if anyone can really fancy this and give a major case. But a lot of people saying it's the bank of the year and Starman will romp up here. I personally think he's got a really strong chance, but it's obvious to say it, Jack, and it's really hard to try and find something to take him on with. Third at Deauville the last day, that was on soft ground. Now I know that you mentioned that potentially the ground that day wasn't as soft as they said, but I think this horse needs it as firm as it comes. I think this horse could do running down the M25, and it sounds like they're probably going to get that ground. If there's no rain between now and Saturday, it sounds like it's going to go off good to firm, which is going to suit this horse down to T. I think the third at Deauville was actually quite a nice run considering the ground conditions and the horse not fancying it. And then we go back to the win at Newmarket in the July Cup, which the form of that looks pretty nice as well. So I think that he's going to win this, and I don't really need to say much more. If you want one at a ludicrous price, who may place, and I just find the jockey booking fascinating on this horse, is Nando Parado. Frankie Dettori has been jocked up for Clive Cox here at 50-1. I just think that this horse, I mean, remember last season, the horse won 150-1 and then finished, I think, just behind Campanelle over in France. The form was all there last season. I just think this horse on rattling fast ground could potentially just outrun the odds of 50-1. I wouldn't put it down. It might be a bet on the day. I'm not going to have a bet on style. I might have a pound each way on this horse just to have a little view of the race. But yeah, I just think that potentially at 50-1 he could be fascinating and could just run his big race of the season. What about yourself, Jack? It's got to be Starman, surely.
Yeah, this is the definition of a penalty kick, you'd think. Not having the ground in the Maurice de Geest, it was the trip. It was those extra 110 yards which kind of saw him off. If you look at the times that day, it was kind of good to soft in places. And I mean, he did what he did on good soft ground when he burst onto the scene this season. So I mean, that wasn't too much of an excuse. But I mean, yeah, he's going to have optimal conditions here. I mean, we weren't too sure. I mean, the last 5 runnings have either been on soft or heavy ground. Yeah, he's managed to get good to firm ground. I don't know what kind of prayers Ed Walker's been saying, but I want some. I want some of those wishes. I want to have his genie's lamp that he's rubbing. But yeah, it does look like it is a penalty kick. He's one of the best sprinters in Europe, if not the best sprinter in Europe, on good to firm or firm ground for that matter. So I do think he's going to go in here. I was kind of scratching my head for an each way angle. You got Art Power. Art Power, I think you're being a bit harsh there on Art Power personally.
Do you?
I do think he's going to run a big race. He's managed to be drawn on the wrong side, in the wrong side of the track recently. I do think he's going to run a big race somewhere. He will land a big pot. Don't think it will be here, personally. No. You've got Emirati Anna, who ran well in the Nunthorpe. There's been quite a lot of money for him as well. Let's not forget he ran in the 2,000 Guineas back in 2019. So it's interesting to see him actually thriving over this trip now. I've landed on Happy Romance, who's currently 16-1 now. She had a really good 2-year-old campaign. Yeah. Obviously beat Alcohol Free at Salisbury in September of last year. Didn't really build on that on her early 3-year-old days until last time out when she won at Newbury in the Hackwood Stakes on really, really quick ground. Now, I do think that she'll come on for that. I mean, if you look at last year's campaign, the best of her form of that year did come towards the end of the campaign. So I think here in September, hopefully she's kind of flourishing and coming into her own. Of course, she's only carrying 8 stone 12 as a 3-year-old filly. So hopefully at 16-1, she'll go well. But I mean, hopefully it'll be the Starman show.
Okay, yeah, it's fascinating with a horse like Happy Romance. You've got the 3-year-old allowance and the fillies allowance, and we know how key that is with the horses like Alcohol Free, one of the best 3-year-olds we've seen this season, winning the Sussex Stakes and beating Poetic Flair. So yeah, plenty of people. Thanks to Richard Cook who commented just to let us know that Jack was talking a load of nonsense when we said that Alcohol Free was one of the best horses.
Time will tell.
I can't wait for her to win the QE2. I really can't. Shock everyone. Shake the pier. Let's go over to France now for the Sunday card, and we're going to preview the one race, the Prix du Moulin. Bide is your 5-6 favourite here. Poetic Flair 7-2. Palace Pier wouldn't be 5-1 if running here, so Palace Pier won't be going. Snow Lantern 7-1, and then 14-1 bar those. Jack, it looks like a matchup between the new kid on the block and the Trojan horse who doesn't know how to run a bad race in these big sort of Group 1s, and that's Poetic Flair. It's got to be between the two of them here, and I can understand why a lot of people will side sort of one way or the other, but I just think it's a race you have to sit back and watch, because I don't know how you could have a bet, because we don't know how good this Bide is yet. Like, you could back Poetic Flair on form and everything like that. You'd be backing Poetic Flair off the boards here. But Bide potentially has got all of the potential to be one of the best horses we've seen in the last sort of, couple of centuries.
Centuries?
Last 10 years.
The last couple
of decades, yeah. I'm not going to go that far. But in the last couple of decades, this horse could be, a real superstar and has the potential to be that. I personally would just leave it alone. I want to sit right on the fence. I just want to sit there and I'll let you try and make a case for why Poetic Flair could potentially beat this horse.
It's the classic master versus apprentice, isn't it? I know they're both 3-year-olds, but it's a cracking contest. It's one of the best Group 1s you've seen in a while since the Mauer. They seem to all be out in France at the moment. I mean, come on, give us some over here. We want to see some of the best over here. But it does look like a cracking contest. I can't be with Bide though. 5-6 for winning the Thoroughbred. It was a very, very good performance. He's done everything right. He's done it all on the bridle. Do we know what he finds off the bridle? No, we don't. Is that a massive question mark in a Group 1 like the Moulin? Yes, it is. And I think if Poetic Flair goes, we're going to be having that quick ground yet again. It's going to be all in his favour yet again. Will it actually take his toll with all these runs he's had? who knows? But I mean, the more and more he keeps running, I think at 4 times the price of Baid, at 7-2 if he does go, I think it has to be Poetic Flare. And I mean, away from that, I think Order Australia on this ground could run his race yet again. Was the third in the Malwa, I think. And I mean, he's probably going to go well again back on nice ground. So Baid, I get it, but at 5-6, I wouldn't touch him with a barge pole. He may be something special. Will I be paying to find out? Absolutely not. Again, will I be opposing him with Poetic Flare? I won't be having a bet myself, but I think he is the bet if you're going to have a bet.
Yeah, I think with regards to sort of moving forward with Baid, at the moment the QE2, I think 2-1 is one of the best prices you can get about Palace Pier, and then I think 3-1, 7-2 is what you can get about Baid.
Shorter, I think.
Potentially shorter. Some bookmakers might be shorter, but I'd be fascinated to see how that market moves. It's obviously got to be. It's going to be dependent on if Baid wins, how Baid wins. If Baid draws clear and makes a mockery of this field, does he go favourite?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, especially.
You think the bookmakers take no chances?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because if you look at, it's a very similar matchup to Palace Pier and Poetic Flare, and a lot of people will kind of put the form together of Palace Pier beating him by a neck and saying how far is Bailly going to be doing it by. Of course, there'll be people watching the clock and whatnot, but I think it would, if it's more than a length, I think even to be fair, even if he wins by half a length, I still think he goes favourite.
Okay, yeah, really fascinating race. I think that's the one race this week we'd like to know your opinions on down in the comments. Let us know who you're going to be fancying, Baid or Poetic Flare over in France. Now, here we go. I'll say it this time because usually I miss it. The nap and the next best of the weekend. I'll kick things off. And my nap of the weekend comes away from the races that we have previewed. It's in the 205, the Serenia Stakes at Kempton, which is a Group 3. And it is going to be the Richard Hannon trained Gubbas. I have not got a price about this horse, unfortunately. I've been looking everywhere for it, but I can't find it as of yet. He won the Super Sprint at Newbury and looked like a really smart horse that time. I know that. And since then, has gone to finish third at Goodwood in a Group 2, the Richmond Stakes there, where beaten by Asymmetric, who looks really smart for Alan King. I think there's been sort of a sale with that horse. Something's been sold, or half the horse has been sold, or something along those lines. But in that race, beat Ebro River, finished ahead of Ebro River. Ebro River's gone on to win a Group 1. We then go on to the last run. That was fifth over in France in the Prix du Moulin behind Perfect Power. And finishing ahead of some nice horses and beaten by some nice horses, I think. And look at the stats here. Only 2 of the last 12 winners won their last start before coming to this race, so that doesn't worry me too much with this horse. 10 of the last 12 winners had 2 runs over this distance prior to the race. Gubbas has had those. And 9 of the last 12 winners have been 98 rated or higher, and he's rated 108. And then I think it's like 11 of the last 12 winners had 4 runs that season and at least won once. So this horse literally ticks so many boxes. Hannon has won this race 2 times in the last 7 years. I think he's going to make it 3 in 8. So Gubbas is going to be my nap of the week. I don't know the price of that at the moment. And I would put Mandub up each way as my next best, but I don't think the horse is going to run, so I'm just going to be boring. I'm going to stick Starman up as my next best for the weekend. So it'd be Gubbas as my nap and Starman as my next best for the weekend. What about yourself, Jack?
Yeah, I like the stats, by the way.
No, I had a good read up on that race. I wanted to find something away from the action that we previewed because it's too easy to nap up Starman. It really is. It
is, and that's why I'm going to be napping up Preyano in I think it's the My Odds Boost handicap. It's over 1 mile and 6 furlongs at Haydock. We've obviously previewed it. I'm sorry, I don't know what time it is for the people who like to find it by time. I think it's either the second or third race on the card. I think Preyano at 8-1. I think the mark he's been given at the moment is a bit of a mockery. I think he's a lot better than he's shown there. He was an expensive purchase. He's well bred, and I think he's going to show that this weekend. So 8-1 nap's always a nice each way nap.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
The second best is going to be Waran over at Ascot in the Lavazza Stakes. I mean, if Champagne Piaf goes and wins, I'll happily eat my own words. But again, I think he's very well handicapped. They both didn't get a clear run last time out. I know it's quite easy to pick horses that didn't get a clear run, but I mean, I'd be very disappointed if he isn't better than a mark of 96.
There we go. So my nap comes in the 205 at Kempton Serenia Stakes. That's Gubbas over there. His nap will come in the 220 at Haydock. That's going to be Preyano, and then his next best will come in the Lavazza Stakes, which is the 310 at Ascot, which is Waran. So, yeah, some fascinating selections. Hopefully we'll have a couple of winners this weekend. Like I say, our next feature video, that'll be with you guys hopefully on Tuesday. It'll be a Champions Day anti-post preview. There'll be 5 races to preview, and hopefully between us we'll try and find 5 winners. We'll do our best.
No
We will do our best. But yeah, like I say, we've got plenty coming your way. We've got so much to look forward. We've got in a month's time, we've got the Arc, and then we move on. Yeah, we've then got Champions Day, which we're going to be excited to be there. Hopefully, we'll have some content to go up on our Twitter and potentially Instagram coming soon as well. That'll be in discussion. Hopefully, we'll get that, guys, out to you soon, and we'll have some Instagram stories up on that day. And then we've got the Breeders' Cup Live. We're really looking forward to that. Jack and I are in the planning of how that's going to look. I'm sure you'll hear more in a couple of weeks on what's going to be happening on that day. But yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give the video a like, and we will see you on Tuesday for our Champions Day anti-post preview.
Down now.